Welcome to the Exam Room Live, brought to you by the Physicians Committee. Hi, I am the weight loss champion, Chuck Carroll, and this is the healthiest half hour anywhere online today. Appreciate you joining us right here on Facebook and on YouTube. So here is what is on the plate today. Dr. Neil Barnard will be here to answer your questions and get us ready for fall. I know, it's almost 90 degrees outside and it's sunny, but fall is going to be here soon, and that means the flu season and the current pandemic will be colliding together. So Dr. Barnard, what possibly could that mean for us, and how do we stay healthy this fall? You're here to tell us today. I look forward to that, my friend.
We'll get ready for it.
And if you do have that question for Dr. Barnard, go ahead and post that in the comment section now, or you can tweet that to us using the hashtag ExamRoomLive. He will be prescribing answers when we open up the doctor's mailbag in just a little bit. And also today, it is Motivation Monday, and we have with us here a woman who went vegan in her 70s, lost well over 100 pounds, and that's just the start of it, because doctors told her at one point she would need to have her knees replaced, but she was too heavy to have that done. And now they say, hey, surgery's not even an option anymore. You don't even need it. The inspirational Esther Loveridge, she is here today to tell us all about her weight loss secrets. Esther, looking forward to catching up with you. But first, let's get caught up on the latest happenings. Here are your health headlines for Monday, August the 24th, 2020. And we do begin with a look at the coronavirus. The country now averaging more than 43,000 new cases a day. That is 1/3 less than this time last month, but still well ahead of the 30,000 cases averaged during the height of the original pandemic in April. The retreat, however, not being felt in parts of the Midwest and in the Northeast. 9 states now reporting increases, with the Dakotas, Maine, and Wyoming reporting a 25% spike in infections over the last week alone. Deaths also up by more than 50% over the last 7 days in Virginia, Kentucky, Arkansas, and Iowa. Meanwhile, as the new school year arrives, Harvard researchers say millions of teachers and parents are at high risk for COVID-19. A study published in the Annals of Internal Medicine finds more than 2.25 million teachers have conditions that increase the likelihood they will fall gravely ill if infected with the coronavirus. Additionally, 90 million other adults who either live with children or are employed by schools in a non-teaching capacity also face that same heightened risk. Researchers accounted for the conditions such as obesity, heart disease, and cancer to make their projections. And finally, the nation's largest pork supplier, get this, is doubling down on its efforts to bring plant-based protein to dinner tables. Smithfield Foods says they are very pleased thus far with the performance of their meat alternatives and will be rolling out 8 new options this fall under its Pure Farmland brand. The new items are catering to what the company calls flexitarian consumers. The packaging will also be made from more than 50% recycled material. Some analysts project the meat alternatives market will swell to have a value of more than $140 billion over the next decade. Wow, that's a lot. Time now to welcome Dr. Barnard to the Exam Room Live. And Dr. Barnard, as I said, you look out the window today, the sun is shining, the birds are chirping. It's absolutely glorious. It's going to be 90 plus degrees out there, but pretty soon those autumn winds will be blowing and fall will be here. And of course, kids now heading back to class. And we just heard that study about teachers and school employees being at increased risk for COVID-19. And on top of that, the flu season will be here. They're going to be colliding. And a lot of people have some good reason now to be concerned. So let's try to offer them some hope here, some steps to stay healthy this fall, including how not to turn those cold weather calories into unwanted winter pounds. So what can you do to guide us along here?
Exactly, Chuck. That's the whole thing. Where did summer go? It's almost the end of August. 2 weeks from now, it'll be Labor Day. And you know what that means? Not only will classes begin one way or another, but that's when you start to notice the Kleenex boxes come out, people start sneezing and they start getting cold, and all kinds of things happen. Here's what I want us to think about. We need to get ready for this new season. And here's my list. Number 1 is that COVID-19 isn't going away, not quite yet. Hopefully it will trail off. Hopefully we'll get a vaccine, better treatments. But for now, we've got to keep that on our schedule of things to worry about. Number 2, weight gain. Yes, that happens every fall for most people. Flu season is around the corner and seasonal depression come in. So let's just tackle all those real quick. It is not your imagination. You do eat more in the fall. We are like the squirrels that start filling our cheeks with nuts because from time immemorial, as cold weather approached, we needed to have the calories stored to get ready for the times ahead. This graph was published in JAMA 20 years ago, and let me walk you through this really quickly. On the very left there, you see October, and then it goes to January, April, July, and then the final October. This is a year. And what we're looking at is the average weight. If you could take all the Americans and stick them on the scale, that's the weight that their weight going up. And between October and January, the average person gains about 1.2 pounds. Doesn't sound like much, does it? And then on January 1st, at just about 1 minute after midnight, people start losing weight because they've all resolved, okay, I can't let this happen again. I've got to lose weight. They are disgusted by all the partying and so forth. But I want to make it clear, that weight gain did not come from just a Christmas Eve party or a Hanukkah party or somebody's birthday. That came from the fact that day after day after day after day, our appetites are ramped up during the cold weather months. The days are shorter, they're colder, we eat more, and the holidays coming at that time don't help. Okay, at midnight, December 31st, everybody is disgusted. They go on a diet, and we do lose weight collectively, about a half a pound on average through the spring months until maybe about April. Well, the diets are gone. And our weight comes up again a little bit up until the next October. And then starting in October, it all goes way, way up. Now, the total weight gain over a year for your average American is only 1.5 pounds. Doesn't sound like much, does it? 1.5 pounds a year? But in 10 years, that means 15 pounds. In 20 years, 30 pounds. Now it starts to sound familiar. So we need to conquer that. This is from a research study that our team did a number of years ago, where we put people on a plant-based diet and watched what happened to their weight month after month after month. And as you can see, there isn't any gain, it's weight loss. So as we're going to talk about later in the program, when people go on a plant-based diet, regardless of where you are, how much weight you need to lose, or how old you are, you're protected against the weight gain, and you can start losing that unwanted weight. Okay, let's shift gears. It's not your imagination. The days are going to get darker. Our moods are going to start coming down a little bit. That seasonal depression hits lots and lots and lots of people. And researchers have found that when those times hit, we often turn to food as a depression treatment. And finally, flu season comes. Now, if you're thinking about getting a flu shot, I have to say I have been a skeptic when it comes to flu shots for everybody, because not everybody is equally vulnerable to it. For some people, the flu is not such a threat. For others, it's a bigger threat. If you're thinking about a flu shot, I do have one recommendation, and that's a certain brand that we have been using at the Barnard Medical Center. We have no economic relationship with them, but it's called Flu Block, and the reason we like it is that it is egg-free. It's also mercury-free, preservative-free. It's more effective, and it's actually more expensive than others. When we use it, it's the same prices for everybody. We make zero money off of this at all. But I want to show you why we use Flu Block and why, if you are getting a flu shot, talk to your doctor about this one. Conventional flu vaccines use eggs. You take the virus, you inject a chick embryo you infect the virus by injecting the chick embryo. The virus enters, reproduces, and then you reopen the egg, you kill the virus, you inject it back into another egg to see if it's gone. For every single shot, you need 1 to 2 eggs. That's a huge number. Now, that's not so hot from an ethical standpoint. It's also not so hot from an allergy standpoint. The person who comes in and says, I can't have any egg products, I'm deathly allergic. You can't give them the standard flu vaccine. What do you give them? You give them the Flu Block. That's the one that tends to work a whole lot better. It's much more modern. You don't use it. You don't use the eggs at all. Okay, so planning for the new season, healthy vegan diet, protects against weight gain and facilitates weight loss. Regular exercise will improve your weight loss just a hair, but you know what it'll also do? It improves your mood. So if you can start an exercise program now and add it to a healthy diet, it'll boost your mood and get you through that time. Get outside when you can. Get whatever sunlight you can. That will be a mood booster too, and it'll give you some vitamin D. Don't forget your social network. That is so important now and so challenging now when people are isolating. Build that up because that's important for mood. It's also important for keeping us on the dietary straight and narrow. Finally, consider a flu shot this season. With so much else going on, it might well be a good thing to add. If you do, ask your doctor for flu buck. That's all I got. Back to you, Chuck.
You know, just seeing the picture of the early dusk, that automatically sends me into a seasonal depression here, Dr. Barnard. I'm such a summer kind of a guy. But okay, I know that we got to do some business here. So let's open up in the doctor's mailbag. And today, this is actually a really interesting question that goes to exactly what it was, Dr. Barnard, you were just speaking about. This question comes to us from Jackie. It's a really great one that so many people face. She writes, I want to start eating a vegan diet after reading more about it, but my spouse has no interest. Can our relationship be as healthy as a plant-based diet, or is it doomed?
Oh, first of all, Jackie, thank you for your question. You are not alone. There are so many cases where one spouse, one partner, one family member says, wow, a plant-based diet, that's fantastic. And then the other family members think, you're not going to push that on me, are you? It's not just food. If one family member decides to stop smoking, stop drinking, start exercising, the other family members are worried what it means for them. Okay, a few tips. Number one, recognize that other family members, even who are resistant, recognize that they have good intentions. They mean well. Yes, that person who is dragging their feet saying, I'm not so sure about that, they mean well. Here's what I'm saying. They grew up with the idea that you needed a balance of foods in your diet. You need some meat, some dairy, some grains and vegetables and fruits. And even though you have logic on your side and you have the very best science going for you, in the back of their mind, they kind of have their fourth grade nutrition teacher telling them that they need meat for protein and so forth. So anyway, they mean well. It just is hard to overcome that. All right, so what am I going to do about it? I would suggest several things. Number one, there's nothing like sharing some education. Now, often people don't want to read a book. If they do, great. There's lots of them to choose from. But they will often watch a movie. So air pops and popcorn, sit down and watch Game Changers, What the Health, Forks Over Knives, Invisible Vegan. There's a million of these videos that will really pump everybody up. And then if you decide together, why don't we do this as a short-term experiment? You want to do 3 weeks on a vegan diet with me? Somebody have to be pretty hard-hearted to say no to that. If the answer is no, you want to go vegan, that's up to you, but I'm not going anywhere near it. At that point, you have to have a heart-to-heart talk. And you have to say, okay, but here is why this is important to me. Lay it out and say, I'd like you not to tease me, and I'd like you to support me as much as you can during this time. And finally, a lot of times couples where one family member isn't quite there and the other is full on vegan, sometimes you have to agree what you're going to do at home versus out. So in the home, I don't want the animal products here. If we're at a restaurant, whatever you have, that's up to you. So good luck. You're making a good decision. It's a normal thing to have a few bumps in the road, but chances are with your good example, you're going to be able to convince your family to follow your lead.
Yeah, and it was kind of similar for my wife and I when I first made the decision to go vegan, and I told her, and she was like, you're already such a healthy eater. Why in the world do you want to do this? And I said, well, look, I tell you what, just give me 2 hours, watch this documentary with me, and then let's have this conversation again. And sure enough, right after she sat down and she watched that with me, she gave me that time. That was all I was asking for, was for 2 hours. She got on board with it as well. And it really did. It just took having an adult conversation without some ribs and jabs. And it's amazing what can happen. That was really good advice, Dr. Barnard.
Part of it is that if it's in a movie, it's not you talking, it's somebody else, sometimes the voice of authority. And so sometimes it takes more than one. It takes somebody else to reinforce the message. Maybe a family doctor can help, something like that. But you'll get there.
It never hurts. Dr. Barnard, appreciate your time, my friend. If you have a question for the good doctor that we didn't get to today, have no fear. We will save it and we will try to get you an answer on an upcoming episode. Or if one just popped in your head, go ahead and post that in the comment section right now, or you can tweet that to us or send it to us on Instagram using the hashtag ExamRoomLive. Okay, if it is Monday, it is Motivation Monday here on the Exam Room Live. We're going to get your week off on the right foot. And my guest today is someone who scrubbed away a lifetime of unhealthy tarnish to live her best life in her golden years. Get this, at the age of 72, Esther Loveridge weighed 257 pounds and was in constant pain. Doctors said she needed to have knee replacement surgery, but she was too heavy to even have it. And just to get by every day, she was taking mountains of medications and was growing desperate for change. And that is when she discovered a plant-based diet. As the weight melted away, so too did Esther's pain, and her condition improved so much that doctors tell her, you don't even need surgery anymore. And her daily cocktail of pills slimmed down just as much as her waist did. Esther is indeed an inspiration and living proof that it is never too late to make that change. And with that, we welcome Esther Loveridge to the Exam Room Live. Esther, thank you so very much for being here today.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. This is a wonderful opportunity.
What an incredible story. We hear Dr. Barnard earlier today talking about how people would gain weight gradually over the years. I'm assuming that was kind of the case for you before you reached 72. Were you much of a yo-yo dieter?
Oh, very much so. Yeah, I started gaining weight probably more in my 30s and 40s, but as I got older, yes, it kept coming on. And then it was just continually on me from, at least the last 30 years. You know, I was very heavy. And I actually had gone up to 282 3 different times and came back up and down, up and down. But it wasn't until I was 72 and found Dr. McDougall's book about the maximum weight loss of plant-based diet that I switched over, because I had no choice at that time. And my husband and I, we loved traveling, and that was the death sentence if I couldn't walk. So,
Yeah, so you needed knee replacement surgery, and obviously you were in a lot of pain. Can you describe for us what that daily struggle was like for you?
well, it was intensified when we were in Ireland on a wonderful trip over there. And by the time we got to the airport, after traveling all over Ireland, my knees were so tired and it just reached a crisis point. So I didn't have a real long period of time of pain, but I certainly had all those other diseases, pre-diabetes, high blood pressure, my knee pain, and I had GERD and diverticulitis and constipation, but I wasn't sick. I didn't think I was sick. That was the funny part. But when my knees hurt to the point that I could hardly walk to the gate at the airport, that's when I knew I had to do something.
So let's talk about what got you up to 282. What was your diet like? I mean, you said that you weren't you didn't think that you were sick. So obviously you probably felt like that was normal. Did you then also think that you were eating a normal diet and you just drew the short straw?
Um, yeah, I didn't. I just knew that I ate the standard American diet, and for some of those years, my husband and I were traveling salesmen, so we were eating in restaurants all the time, and that's really a difficult place to, And we would go on diets, and we would lose. I could get down from 282, I think one time down to 220, and then back up again. But the other thing that didn't help is I went on a high-fat diet. And that was fun because I could eat, all those pork rinds and eat cream and butter and all that kind of stuff, which I did like. But it also, I think, created pancreatitis twice in my life and gallbladder disease, had my gallbladder out. So, but no one at that time saw any correlation between the high fat diet and those diseases too. So, yeah, it was just, but I was desperate. I didn't want to have my traveling days be over. We still had our life ahead of us. So when I got a hold of that book, that's all it took. I thought, I'm in.
Let's talk about with diets. I always think back to there's this one time or this one point, a fork in the road, as it were, where everything kind of goes off of the rails, and you slip up. You think that you can have just one of something that you used to eat, and you would be okay. What was it that kind of set you back when you were on these diets? What put you back on the path toward getting back up to 280 pounds?
It's hard to say. I think it's just the accumulation of things. You can be on a diet so long, and then finally you're just craving real nutrition, and I didn't even know why. But I think at some point your body just revolts, and you have to get some good food in your body. But it's no one particular thing. I just know that when I did find the answer, I knew the answer, and there was no turning back. So it's possible for
So
anybody. Yeah.
And before you did stumble upon Dr. McDougall's book, what was your opinion of vegetarians and vegans? Was that anything that was even on your radar in the least?
Not at all. I didn't know anything about veganism. I didn't know anything about the animals. I didn't know anything about the planet. I didn't know anything about anything except calorie restriction and portion control and doing all of that. And I knew of vegetarians because I knew of some people like the Seventh-day Adventists who were primarily vegetarian and they had better health and all of that. But no, I was in the dark, just in the dark about becoming vegan and knowing that this is a way of life to find the fountain of youth. I mean, it is so wonderful. I can't explain how wonderful it is for me. I try to tell people, I said, I feel the same as if I had been on drugs and became drug free. And with that intensity, I do not want to go back. I do not want that food in my diet, in my life. I just feel like I have total freedom to be who and what I want to be for the rest of my life. And I found the answer and I'm sticking with it.
What were your expectations when you first went vegan? Obviously, as you said, you had been on a number of different diets before and they would work for a little while and then that weight would come back and then some. Were you expecting the same kind of thing here, or did you just kind of know that this was going to be different?
It was definitely different and it was definitely more radical than anything I had ever thought of before. But in my mind, my friend gave me his book, so I didn't even have to pay for it. And then I started watching all the documentaries, and then I started watching all the podcasts and got educated. But what was so exciting for me is I said to myself, I'm going to put that sucker to the test. And what I meant by that was I'd been on every other diet imaginable. And I thought, if I don't give this one 100% or as close as I can get to 100%, then there's no way I can test this program to see if it works or doesn't work. So I jumped in with both feet and I was adherent and I thought I'm going to follow it right to the T as nearly as I can. And if it works, then that's going to get the credit. So it's been a happy marriage between me and that program and veganism and just learning the answer to a lifetime of struggle and self-loathing and you hate yourself because you fail and then you try again and then you fail and then you get tired of, like Dr. Bernard said earlier, ask your spouse for help and not to tempt you. And I had that, but how many times can you ask for help and not follow through?
Right. Right. So here's my question. It can take a while to lose all of the weight, but a lot of times people tend to feel a lot better a lot sooner. How long was it before you started to notice a change where maybe your knees weren't as painful as they used to be?
Oh, well, fortunately, I took my measurements when I started, and it seemed like it was it wasn't long at all until my knees the inflammation was gone. And I don't know now, it's probably 5 or 6 inches I've lost off each knee, but right away it was 4 inches off each knee. And I was shocked. And then even when the scale didn't move too quickly at times, I just noticed my clothes were getting looser and looser. And so at my all-time high, I wore a size 26 dress. Mostly I was like 24, 26, and now I'm down to a 6. And I'm still losing. I mean, I'm down to 122 now, so I'm even a total of 160 pounds. But the thing I want to stress is that most people, especially women, we get into a diet because of our appearance. And we forget that without our health, we have nothing. And and I was drawn to this way of eating for losing weight, so my knees wouldn't hurt, so I could travel. But what I really want to stress is, the health benefits that come from eating this way, and those aren't visible to people on the outside. And it even not only did I avoid having my knees replaced, but I avoided having eye surgery. And the last thing my doctor said to me, my eye doctor in December of last year, he said, with your eyesight, you don't even have to wear glasses. So the results are so much more fantastic than just losing weight and looking good, and all those diseases are gone. All my medications are gone. I feel brand new. And how can I say I'm 76 now, almost 77? Go figure. But it's the food. It's the food we eat that we have to correct.
So your driver's license says 76, 77. How old do you actually feel? Can you put a number on that? When was the last time you felt this healthy?
Oh, I don't know. I had lied on my driver's license for so many years. It said 190, and I never bothered to change it, and they never bothered to ask. But I would say I feel as good as when I'm in my 20s. I mean, it's just, I feel alive. I feel healthy, and I keep wanting to get better and better. So I listen to Dr. Bernard and all these other programs, because there's ways to tweak it, and we can keep on making it even better and better. Maybe drinking more water, maybe getting more rest, and so forth. But I'm just alive. I'm just alive, and it's so wonderful. And my heart aches for other people who just don't know this information like I didn't just 4 years ago. 4 years I didn't know. So I've gone through the college of learning, and I'm ready to put my water board on and say I've graduated, and I'm just embarking on a new career. And I just want to share the news with anybody who will listen. And even if they don't want to listen, I want to plant the seed, because maybe they'll hear something from me and then hear something from someone else. And pretty soon it will all add up, and they'll realize, I have a choice. In fact, I loved your program with Josephine. Here she was 96 years old. 96, and she changed her life. And so I thought, why am I going to be on this program? I'm only 76, but every story has its point, and not everybody hears every story. So I just want people to know you can be your best anytime in your life.
Oh yeah, but look, I mean, there's no comparing. Every story is a little bit different, and you are no less amazing than Josephine Stagnaro, who went vegan at 96. I mean, you are equally as inspirational. You were just talking though about how amazing this is. I'm curious, what was the doctor's reaction, the orthopedists who you were seeing about your knees, and now suddenly all of this inflammation is gone, and you don't need the knee replacement surgery anymore? What did they say?
Well, it's kind of interesting, because the doctor who was monitoring me and was going to refer me to orthopedics after I lost 70 pounds, I don't see him anymore, because on that very second visit, I said, I'm attempting to go on a plant-based diet. And he said, well, if I told people to eat like that, they would say that's not real food. And I thought, oh, yikes, this is not the place for me. And then he went on to say, besides, he said, there's no health food stores in our area. And I said, all you need is the produce department of any store. So I had heard about a plant-based doctor where I go, and he was full and wasn't taking new patients. But I thought if I could just get a consult with him, maybe he would realize I won't need to be seeing him very much. I wouldn't add to his workload. And he allowed me to have a consult and accepted me. And so I have a wonderful plant-based doctor now. And he is so thrilled with my progress. And he's one of my biggest cheerleaders. He's just wonderful. So I never had to go back to that other doctor, although I'd like to go back. But so no, haven't been back. So, and
Oh,
it's
I
just,
think you would be a fantastic case study for your original doctor. And your story is so inspiring, and you became so inspired. You actually wrote a book about it.
I did. Actually, the book is kind of interesting. I wrote the book in response to a group I have on Facebook. It's called Esther's Nutritional Journey, and anyone can ask to join by answering two questions. I want to know, first of all, what are their goals? Because if you don't know what you want in life, you're not going to get there. So I don't care what the goals are, but you have to identify them. And then I also ask if they've watched all the documentaries and interviews and so forth, just so I know how far along they are on the path. And so after a while, I think of a word every day, and then I expound on that, and I put that in my Facebook group every day. And people started saying, oh, you should write a book. You should write a book. And I didn't really know exactly what they meant. So I said, well, why would you want to buy my book when I post it free on Facebook every day? And they said, no, it's important. And so what I did is I went through the posts that I did for a full year and collected those. And so I call it From Donuts to Potatoes, because this is an important part too. My husband owned donut shops for how many years before we got married? And I met him in his donut shop. And then we switched over to eating potatoes. But he was like one of the guys that Dr. Bernard talked about at the beginning of the podcast, how he said, oh, I could never eat like you. And I said, okay. So he liked to cook. He did his thing and I did my thing. And he was very supportive. So I'm so thankful for that. But back to the book, it's just kind of more of a motivational and inspirational book. It's not a how-to, but I keep referring people to all the resources that have helped me. And so that's available. But it's much more advantageous, I think, to get one of the hardcore books to get the science behind it. But if you want a guide along your way and just to hear about my thoughts and how I try to get people to think about their self-image, how they think about themselves and what they can change and how they can become positive in their life. And no matter how many failures they've had, once they get their head on straight, and this eating this way does clear the brain fog too, I will say that, and makes you alive and makes you want to think and makes you want to know you can accomplish anything. So it's a lot about mindset, mindfulness, and taking care to really identify what you want in life and go for it. Get the support, get the education along the way.
Esther Loveridge, love you. Thank you so much for bringing the inspiration to us today. What an incredible journey, and congratulations on all of your success.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for spreading the good word.
It is my pleasure. Go check her out on Facebook and definitely pick up the book as well. And if you want to live life the Esther way, or you just want to take your health to the next level, the Barnard Medical Center is here to help doctors who view nutrition and food in the vein that it actually is, and that is the best medicine. So call and make your telemedicine appointment today if you live in any one of the following states. Let me rattle off the list here for you. It is Arizona, Colorado, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Maryland, Massachusetts, Missouri, New York, Pennsylvania, Virginia, or the nation's capital of Washington, D.C. If you live any one of those locations and you say, hey, Esther is on point, I want to be like Esther, or I just want to get healthy, go ahead, visit barnardmedical.org or pick up the phone and call 202-527-7500 to schedule your appointment today. Now, on the show tomorrow, Dr. Vanita Rahman, she will be here to answer your questions. Plus, we're going to be looking at the incredible success that patients had with our first series called Fight COVID-19 with Food. And so tomorrow, the bell will be ringing for round 2 to get underway, and you can take part. Dr. Rahman will be here to tell you how and give you the successful skinny on the Fight COVID-19 with Food series. And if there's also ever a topic that you want us to discuss here on the show, or somebody that you think would make a great guest for Motivation Monday, we would love to hear from you as well. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter or Instagram at Chuck Carroll WLC or at PCRM, or on the gram at Physicians Committee. Go ahead and send us your message there using the hashtag Exam Room Live. But for today, that is all the time that we have, my friend. I greatly appreciate you being here. My thanks to the crew behind the scenes that makes the magic happen, and to the incredible, once again, Esther Loveridge for sharing her inspirational journey with us today. On behalf of Dr. Neil Barnard and everyone here at the Physicians Committee, I am the weight loss champion, Chuck Carroll. Thanks so very much for tuning in. And until tomorrow, stay safe, take a stand, and keep it plant-based.